Tonight, petrol price pressure drives some South Australians to crime. Fuel thefts surging with the cost. When the Premier met Pauline. A day of handshakes and backhanders as the state election race enters the home straight. An elderly kayaker found by search crews after a night lost in waters and mangroves north of Adelaide. The police chief reveals an organised crime link to an arson attack on an Unley Road car wash. And power great Chad Corn's cutting take on the club's round one fail.
This is Adelaide's 9 News with Brenton Ragless.
Good evening. Just moments ago, the RAA confirmed South Australia's average price for unleaded petrol had hit an all-time high. And tonight, a telling sign of how hard the petrol price pressure is biting, with revelations of a surge in fuel thefts, many by first-time offenders.
2 minutes at the pump, but apparently 0 seconds spent at the till before this motorist, with a lazy arm out the window, drives off from the Bowser last Saturday. Just one of hundreds of alleged fuel thefts being carried out every week.
Not what they should be doing. They should be, be responsible. If you can't afford to put the fuel in it, you'll leave the thing home. Get on a bus, I suppose.
Statewide, police were alerted to 162 petrol thefts last week. 7 days later, 221 more. And it's not all repeat offenders. The amount of first-timers rising sharply too.
Well, I think the service stations need to perhaps relook at how they go about it. Perhaps they need a couple of people standing out here.
Our top cop agreeing, frustrated with devoting police resources, chasing up what he says is a preventable crime that could be brought to a stop overnight.
There are examples right across the world where prepaid works, and we even have one example in Adelaide. There is one retail fuel outlet that has prepaid and they have had 0 petrol drive-offs, so the evidence speaks for itself.
The industry relying on more than just the sale of fuel.
So the business model is, it's more than petrol. It's that sort of convenience store that used to be on the corner of your local street is now at the petrol station.
Western Suburbs landscaper Paul Dignam's world chugs along on diesel, the concept of others taking off while he sticks around to pay more every day, salt in the wound, especially as the prices continue to soar.
I've got to make an extra couple of $100 a week.
I think it stinks. I think that service stations should be investigated for what they're paying for fuel and what they're selling. I think they jumped the gun.
Let's go to Will de Fulvio on West Terrace. Will, drivers are feeling the price pain tonight.
Well, Brenton, here is the highest we could find here today. Just moments ago, the price was around $2.40 a litre as the daily average price hits a record 236.6 cents a litre. That breaks what was set in July 2022 during the Russia-Ukraine war by more than 2 cents. And while motorists can expect prices to surpass even that, the Motor Trade Association says that we can't rule out the possibility that even more costs can be passed on to the consumer if more petrol thefts continue to happen. Brenton.
Yeah, unbelievable. Will, thank you. The Premier has copped a dressing down from Pauline Hanson during an unexpected encounter in the city. The One Nation leader in Adelaide, as yet another poll suggested her party had lured more voters away from Labor and the Liberals.
Face to face and a telling off. Pauline Hanson angry at comments the Premier made, questioning who would wipe the bum of One Nation voters in their 90s, given their stance on immigration.
We might have violently different views on a number of subjects, but I'm always willing to work with those that can work in the interest of the state.
Earlier, the Premier not so accommodating.
I'll be here Sunday morning. Pauline Hanson will be in Queensland Sunday morning. So what's she doing for South Australia?
Well, he'd hate to see me here permanently in South Australia because, he can see the writing on the wall if I was saying, listen, I love Queensland, but I also love Australia.
But it was a different matchup in the final debate. Ashton Hearn and Peter Malinowskis toe-to-toe.
We'll be unashamedly focused on getting the important things right. We'll be cutting the bullshit.
But new polling release showing a harsh reality for the Liberals, while Labor dominance continued, and One Nation remaining the second most popular party in the state.
There is this undercurrent of movement that's happening not only here in South Australia, across the whole country, and I'm feeling it.
One Nation leaders today coy about their success at the next election, saying that will come only in the increase of votes, and they wouldn't confirm whether they were confident on whether they'd win a lower house seat.
It's unknown, the quantity out there of what's going to happen on Saturday, and I'm not going to make a guess at it.
And in 3 days, the state will have an answer. Gus McDonald, 9 News.
And be sure to join us for special coverage of the South Australian election on Saturday from 5 p.m. here on 9 and on 9 Now. A 73-year-old kayaker who spent the night lost in St Vincent Gulf has shared his story of survival. A major search operation launched on the water and in the air after he failed to return home from a routine fishing trip.
Walking from a rescue helicopter, spirits are high for Goran Rudic.
Yeah, I'm okay.
You're okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
The 73-year-old surviving a gruelling night lost on his kayak in St Vincent Gulf.
Just happy to be alive and well, and yeah.
Paddling out from Middle Beach yesterday morning, Goran became disoriented trying to get home.
I didn't see entrance into the channel, so I knew something is different, and I just had to try again.
But by 11 p.m, his family raised the alarm. Search crews quickly on the water and in the sky. A major operation that stretched into the night and through the morning. Goran and his yellow kayak finally spotted at 8:30 a.m, lodged amongst the mangroves 2 kilometres from Middle Beach.
We had jet skis, a hovercraft was coming, as well as 2 air assets. So this gentleman had a fair amount of resources making sure he was going to be found.
The operation made even more perilous by the shallow waters here. 2 police jet skis became stuck in the marsh, leaving those officers in need of rescuing too.
We got the officers on board and brought them back. They'll retrieve the jet skis later.
Paramedics quick to give Goran the green light, allowed to drive home to Aldinga Beach. His wife anxiously awaiting his return.
Well, she's happy I'm alive alrighty, and not happy for what happened.
Samantha Hogan, 9 News.
Good outcome. Stolen car has smashed into a police car and then flipped onto its roof in Northfield. The driver of the Ford hatchback attempted to evade officers on Grand Junction Road around 3 o'clock this morning. He fled after the crash and, despite a search involving police dog Duke, is still on the run. Police officers involved sustained minor injuries. The Prime Minister has called an emergency national cabinet meeting with the premiers to thrash out the nation's fuel supply woes. It comes as fresh Treasury modelling tonight confirms the Middle East crisis will add substantially to inflation while slashing economic growth.
Australia's energy self-reliance has quite literally been blown up. An oil refinery in South Australia, 2 in New South Wales toppled, Queensland followed by Australia's largest in WA and one of 2 in Victoria.
We're in a mess of our own making because of the willful blindness of both sides of politics for more than 15 years.
The strategic value of Australia's 2 remaining refineries now for all to see. Everyone hurt at the pump by the nation's 90% reliance on fuel imports.
If we're always the last link in the global supply chain, we'll always be vulnerable.
What is the plan to mitigate the struggles that everyone is feeling at the Bowser right now?
The Prime Minister to convene an emergency national cabinet tomorrow to discuss a joint approach to fuel supply.
Making sure that states and territories coordinate with the Commonwealth.
What I'll be asking tomorrow is for Canberra to deliver a plan and for 2 things to start flowing: information and affordable fuel.
Treasury modelling that if oil stays at $100 a barrel until the end of June, inflation will hit 4.9% or more. At $120 a barrel, inflation would hit about 5.5%. Economic growth would be sliced by 0.2%, triple that by next year.
These inflationary pressures are becoming harder because of a big spike in the global oil price.
The government needs to stop pouring debt petrol on the inflation fire.
Short of rationing or mandating work from home or encouraging greater use of public transport, there are also calls for Australia to play hardball with trading partners who take our oil.
We're not going to keep just exporting this to you guys if in return you're not prepared to release some refined fuel supplies to us.
The fuel crisis caused by Donald Trump's war on Iran has exposed a shocking truth. Australia's almost blind faith in global rules and international trade has left us horribly exposed. We allowed industry to wither because it could be done cheaper elsewhere in the world. Perhaps ironically, Australia hosts the head of the European Union next week. A free trade agreement is likely to be signed. But the lesson from Trump is that Australia needs to do more for itself. Andrew Probyn, 9 News.
And as the nation reacts to yesterday's interest rate hike, a prominent businessman has warned rising wages are pushing up inflation for everyday purchases. It underscores the challenges facing the Reserve Bank. Finance editor Chris Kohler explains.
Celebrity chef Neil Perry today said in 5 years a coffee will cost $12, and that's a huge problem for the RBA. Not the coffee specifically, but the expectations that come with it. Michelle Bullock yesterday spoke several times about inflation expectations, a crucial part of this puzzle. Basically, if we expect prices to rise, then we demand wage increases, and then inflation continues to grow. When interest rates rise, employers won't give wage increases and consumers can't afford the higher prices. A brutal handbrake for the economy. If it works too well, that's when a recession can hit. A recession means the economy shrinks, businesses get squeezed and some go broke. Unemployment rises and property prices can start to slip. With another rate rise in May considered a coin toss, the RBA is very much still walking a narrow path to safety.
An Iranian missile has struck near an airbase in the UAE where ADF troops are stationed. It came after President Trump declared he no longer wants the help of allies to protect the Strait of Hormuz, including Australia.
Forces from 14 NATO nations joining for military exercises in frigid Finland. But it's a conflict more than 4,000 kilometres away that's landed the alliance in Donald Trump's bad books.
So everyone agrees with us, but they don't want to help. And we as the United States have to remember that because we think it's pretty shocking.
Despite previously calling for assistance from international naval forces, the US president now says America can protect the choked Strait of Hormuz itself. And today, the Pentagon hit hardened Iranian missile sites along the coastline near the strait. Because of the fact that we have had such military success, we no longer need or desire the NATO countries' assistance. We never did. Likewise, Japan, Australia, or South Korea.
Do you agree with the president?
It's not my place to come in between President Trump and Australia. When you're standing for something that is right, you pay a price. So Australia took that stand and we commend them.
Today, that price was our personnel being put at risk.
At 9:15 this morning at the Al Minhad base that Australia has in the United Arab Emirates, there was an Iranian projectile hit near that base. I can confirm that no Australian personnel were injured and everyone is absolutely safe.
It comes 2 weeks after the facility was first hit by Iranian drones.
The Iranian regime is continuing to engage in, frankly, random attacks right across the Gulf region.
US assets, including the American embassy in Baghdad, also targeted. As Israel fires across the border in Lebanon, Prime Minister Netanyahu confirmed the death of key Iranian leaders.
In the past 24 hours, we knocked out 2 of the terrorist chieftains, the top terrorist chieftains of this tyranny.
One of the dead, Ali Larijani, the regime's main mouthpiece. He was widely considered Iran's de facto leader after the death of the supreme leader, Donald Trump, also making new enemies on the home front. His top counter-terrorism official, Joe Kent, resigning, claiming the US only got involved because of Israel, and there was no imminent threat from Iran. In the United States, Reid Butler, 9 News.
Revelations tonight, a popular Unley Road business torched in an arson attack has links to serious organised crime. Police say it's now the 3rd time the car wash has been targeted by criminals, and this time they left nothing behind.
Once a thriving car wash and cafe, now a charred mess.
It's bizarre, it could happen to anyone, I guess, but I just try not to make any enemies, I suppose.
The popular Unley Road business, which offers both luxury car washes, detailing and coffee, targeted by arsonists around 1 this morning. Flames tore through the business, destroying everything in its wake.
They do get quite busy. If anyone asks for coffee, we used to recommend them to go there actually.
Just hours after the blaze, a team of specialised crime detectives descending on the area, with the police commissioner later revealing the incident has links to serious organised crime.
We had a break-in to the wash on Unley Road on the 31st of December, where fuel was left inside the premises. On the 2nd of January, there was an arson where the property was damaged, and now we've had this third incident overnight.
9 News understands the car wash cafe recently changed hands. Staff say they now don't actually know who owns it. Despite multiple security cameras in use at the time of the blaze, investigators retrieved a damaged hard drive from the wreckage as they continue to piece together exactly who was involved in the attacks and why.
All 3 incidents at the wash are connected and is being investigated as a series of offences.
Kelly Hughes, 9 News.
A park predator who admitted harassing multiple women on walks in public parks in Adelaide's northeast has been sentenced. 23-year-old Vu Tru Dien has been convicted and handed a 2-year good behaviour bond after pleading guilty to charges of disorderly behaviour. He was arrested in May of 2024 after approaching and terrorising several unsuspecting women in Linear Park over a 6-month period from 2023. Din's visa has since expired and he's left the country. It was a story many South Australians will never forget. The body of little Candice Pearce, found in a suitcase on the Karoonda Highway after she and her mother Carly were murdered. Their killer, Daniel James Holdham, given the harshest possible sentence. But today he's launched a new fight for leniency.
A never-ending prison term that Daniel Holdham has now decided he doesn't deserve, appealing his 2 life sentences for the 2 lives he horrifically ended in 2008. Girlfriend Carly Pearce-Stevenson and her 2-year-old daughter Candice. Carly's body would lie for 2 years in the New South Wales Belangolo State Forest before she was found in 2010. She was unidentified, known only as Angel because of her shirt, until 5 years later when Candice was discovered and detectives put the pieces together. The little girl was 1,200 kilometres away inside a suitcase next to a highway in Wainaka, South Australia. Holdham finally admitted to his crimes in 2018, ending a 10-year chapter for the victims' loved ones.
The trauma associated with going through a trial at first instance is horrific. Now all of a sudden, the whole thing is re-enlivened.
Appeals usually have to be lodged within 28 days of a decision, but this morning, 2,665 days later, Holdham's fight was heard in the Supreme Court. His lawyer arguing not enough weight was given to his guilty pleas and traumatic childhood.
Holdham stayed silent with his arms crossed for most of the 45-minute hearing, speaking only at the end to repeatedly say thank you very much after being told the court would consider his application and come back at a later date.
We have no idea how long that will take, so the family will be on tenterhooks.
Helene Lambetsos, 9 News.
Police have uncovered drugs and cash in a banged-up car driving with airbags deployed at Paralympians. 25 grams of methamphetamine, scales and a stash of cash were found during a search of the car on Bolivar Road. A 41-year-old Elizabeth Grove man was arrested for drug trafficking and driving disqualified. Queen Mary and King Frederick have taken time out of their busy Australian schedule to put smiles on faces at the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne. It was a candid moment for the monarchs to speak with parents, patients and staff.
Oh, it was wonderful meeting her, wasn't it? It was just
lovely,
she was so sweet.
Yeah.
She's so natural.
Human.
Later in the day, the Danish king tried his hand at table tennis. It was the royals' last day in Melbourne before they head off to Mary's home state, Tasmania. Well, it's lights out and away we go for racing fans, with South Australians now able to register their interest for tickets to the 2027 MotoGP on the Adelaide Street Circuit. A new website has been launched with all the seating options now available.
So today we put online a website, motogpadl.com.au, so that fans who want to get access to the good seats can pre-register and they'll go to the front of the queue.
And how's this? It comes as the Premier confirmed he's spoken with the boss of Formula One about potentially hosting a Grand Prix here in Adelaide after the Bahrain race was cancelled due to the conflict in the Middle East. And Rehn, of course, MotoGP tickets, they'll be the hottest tickets in town.
Well, they will, and I can see you on the back of a bike, Raggy, to be honest.
Can you imagine?
In your leathers.
No more Formula One.
Yes, well, that'd be nice to get that, wouldn't it? Yeah, they will be a very hot ticket, Raggy, but all attention is going to be on Adelaide Oval on Friday night, and that's where the Crows are going to be hosting the Red Hot Bulldogs. And there's a little injury concern at West Lakes. We'll have more on that later in sport. Also coming up, Chad Corns has a bit to say about the Power's early woes, and he's got a key forward in the gun. Also, the masterstroke that locked the 36ers into a drought-breaking title fight, DJ's plan to deliver on a promise, and the Matildas waltz into the Asian Cup final. That and so much more coming up later in sport. Raggy.
Looking forward to it, Rennie. Thank you. A fresh off-air battle for the king of radio. Kyle Sandilands' contract torn up as he launches legal action. The details on his game plan next. Plus, let Robbie Williams entertain you. Ahead, the date you need to know to get tickets to his Adelaide Oval show. And tonight we can reveal Australia's best-rated hot cross buns with 5-star reviews. A renewed appeal tonight from police as they search for a missing Adelaide man. 71-year-old Terence was last seen at his Evanston home about 1 p.m. on Saturday the 14th of March. Investigators and Terence's family have concerns for his welfare. Anyone who's seen him is asked to contact Crime Stoppers. Kyle Sandilands and his lawyers are expected to be in court within days, suing his former employer, ARN, for wrongful termination. It's expected the radio star will go after the tens of millions of dollars left on his contract, a whole ordeal giving his former breakfast rivals plenty to talk about.
His TV gig still alive, but it was as if Kyle Sandilands knew his radio career was all but dead and buried.
I'm dressed like this because I have a job interview at Lowe's after the show. Because radio guys, once you're out of radio, all you can do is sell socks at Lowe's. At Lowe's!
This morning, the inevitable announcement from ARN, the owners of Kiss FM, that it has issued a notice of termination of contract to Mr. Kyle Sandilands. And within minutes, Sandilands fired back as the rest of the media world went into overdrive.
I have just received a statement from Kyle.
Let me tell you what actually happened here. Jackie and I had a blue on air, that's it. The kind of thing we've done 100 times in 25 years. ARN took the situation and decided to burn the place down.
I've got a contract until 2034 and ARN hasn't honoured the contract. So it's over to my lawyers.
And we asked our own.
We seem to be turning to a question of damages. There's a long way to go on Kyle's very generous contract.
No sign of the now former radio host at his home today, while his former radio sidekick, Jackie O'Henderson, was out and about. She too has lost her job, but is expected to be offered another at ARN.
Any plans to start your own radio, Jackie?
Oh, no.
Astrology show?
Hey?
Astrology show?
A radio row between the pair last month led to their sackings.
You're off with the fairies with Tell me where.
But they had survived previous blow-ups.
Swung that bag over your shoulder and you were like, I'm out of here. And I was like, good, go.
That history and Kyle's efforts to shock without much opposition from management could well form much of his defence. His lawyers say they'll be in the Supreme Court within days, their intention to sue for wrongful termination. And an opportunity for breakfast show opponents to cash in.
OK, we are the longest serving breakfast show.
Damien Ryan, 9 News.
Aldi's hot cross buns have been ranked #1 this year by CanStar Blue, what has become a hotly contested competition. The supermarket's entire range is made in Melbourne by fifth-generation bakers. Their product received 5 stars for taste, freshness and value for money.
Very proud to see our product sitting on the shelves of Aldi, and yeah, it's very satisfying.
The Aldi buns were ranked ahead of Costco, Woolworths and Coles. Well, it's official. Global pop icon Robbie Williams will return to Adelaide to kick off his Britpop tour. His show, to be held on Saturday, the 7th of November, will be his first time entertaining at Adelaide Oval.
It does feel like home. So I always can't wait to get down there. And I've been told that this is my biggest tour that I've ever done down there.
It'd be great to have him back. To secure a spot, tickets can be purchased from the 26th of March. Well, never mind the grey skies. Things are looking bright in the city as we gear up for the final few days of Fringe. Jessica Braithwaite, the weather's clearing just in time.
It is. It's one of those cases where things are lining up really nicely for the final few days of the Fringe with those really easy conditions in store. And here at the Garden of Unearthly Delights, many punters are not waiting until the weekend. They're getting in midweek to catch some Fringe action. And I've been speaking to people here. I've been getting the hot tips on what you can come along to if you would like to bring the kids into the Fringe Festival this weekend. So some hot tips. Splish Splash Science is a circus show where the star performer is water. The Alphabet of Awesome Science, where fascinating worlds inspire mind-blowing tricks and curiosities. And Camp Culture, an interactive comedy circus show for campers of all ages. I think if you are bringing the kids in, the hardest thing will be deciding which show you want to go to. And the weather is turning it on as we do prepare to bid farewell to our Fringe Festival for another year. I've got all of those details coming up in the full forecast soon.
Terrific. Thank you, Jessica. See you soon. Removalists move in as former Prince Andrew moves out. Ahead, the first vans filled with the ex-royal's belongings arrives at Sandringham. Plus, what was behind a big boom that had an entire US state on edge? See the sentimental statue gifted to Sean Penn after he skipped out on the Oscars. A 35-year-old Australian could spend 8 years in an American jail after allegedly assaulting a TSA officer at Los Angeles International Airport. Thomas Bingham is accused of attacking the federal agent and falsely claiming he stole the Melbourne man's backpack and passport. His belongings were later found at a nearby restaurant. Princess Catherine has dressed in green for a very special St Patrick's Day commemoration. The future Queen met troops and families as King Charles hosted the new Australian High Commissioner.
She's arguably the best dressed colonel of the British Armed Forces. The Princess of Wales is officially the leader of the Irish Guards, and on St Patrick's Day, Catherine made sure her troops were decked out with shamrock sprigs.
3 cheers for the Colonel of the regiment! Hip, hip! Hooray!
She's part of our regiment. She's the Colonel and Chief of our regiment. You know, she takes pride, and we want to show off to her, showing how much we appreciate her.
A reception with the Guards and their families made sure no one was left out. Some of these Irish Guards have spent the last few years training the Ukrainian armed forces and more recently have been focusing their skills on drone warfare technology. Today, the King held receptions of his own, including Volodymyr Zelensky at Buckingham Palace, as well as Australia's new High Commissioner, Jay Weatherall. But at one of the King's private properties in Sandringham, removalist vans carrying artwork were spotted at Marsh Farm, where Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is set to call home next month. Capping off a busy day for the firm, the Prince of Wales joined a charity ride through Yorkshire on a bicycle built for two. In London, Josh Bavis, 9 News.
NASA has confirmed a sonic boom that terrified residents in the American states of Ohio, Pennsylvania and New York was a meteor shooting across the sky. Some thought a tree had smashed under their roof. Others claimed it was like fireworks that lingered and rumbled like thunder. In reality, it was the asteroid's fragmentation making the sound. A touching moment for actor Sean Penn being awarded an Oscar in Ukraine made from a war-damaged railway car. The 65-year-old skipped the awards ceremony in favour of the visit, so he didn't collect the real thing when he won Best Supporting Actor.
It's not golden, but it's very real and from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you.
They're all treasures. Thank you.
Penn is good friends with Ukraine's president. He loaned Volodymyr Zelensky his Oscar in 2022, saying he should give it back when the war ends. Beating soaring power bills with cheaper home batteries. Coming up tonight, the advice to lock in savings before the looming deadline on discounts kick in. Plus the link between dreams and dementia. What your sleep could reveal about the risk of developing the disease. And we hear from Finance Editor Chris Kohler on how the rate hike could impact SA house prices. To finance now, and the ASX nudged higher today, but the focus will soon turn to the impact rising interest rates could have on the property market. Chris Kohler's with the details.
The market took yesterday's rate hike in its stride, lifting about another 30 points today. The talk of the ASX was the new names going straight to the top of the resources sector. Woodside and BHP announced new CEOs, Liz Westcott and Brandon Craig, respectively. Those jobs are worth roughly $2 million a year before bonuses. Elsewhere, ANZ was the worst performer of the big banks after Goldman Sachs cut its recommendation on the stock from buy to neutral. The Australian dollar spent the day buying about 71 US cents and 62 euro cents. And finally, it'll be worth keeping an eye on the property market. Across the February and March rate hikes, the average borrower has about $25,000 less to spend on a home.
Thank you, Chris. The Cheaper Home Batteries program is earmarked to provide Australians with solar savings up until the year 2030. While the intention was always to scale back the rebate, changes are being fast-tracked as hundreds of thousands of people rush to save on their power bills.
Linus Thomas isn't worried about paying for power anymore. He's just gone solar, getting a home battery as well.
Get off the grid and stop paying top dollar for electricity.
The retiree applying for the government's Cheaper Home Batteries program as soon as he could.
I did know that the rebate at some point would either disappear or be drastically reduced.
Since the program launched in July last year, some 250,000 Australians have signed up for an average saving of 30%.
I don't think anyone expected it would be quite so popular as it is.
Prompting adjustments to sustain the scheme. From May, the discounts will reduce every 6 months instead of every year. There will also be a new tiered system based on battery capacity, with larger systems penalised the most.
People are buying much bigger batteries than the government thought they would. Batteries that size were originally intended for small business, not for residential homes, and so the rebate was getting spent about 4 times faster than anticipated.
On the larger battery systems, the rebate drop post-May could be as high as $6,000 or $7,000.
The drop will be less for typical household systems. The rebate for a small battery reducing around $800 from $4,300 to $3,500. If you're keen to get the current rebate, the battery system must be fully installed, not just booked in, before May the 1st. The challenge, the deadline has caused a rush on installation.
Nearly all good installers are now booked out, so 8 to 10 week lead time.
Industry experts advising to weigh up when the timing is right for you, especially with battery prices coming down.
The average household getting solar and battery installed might save around 90% of on their electricity bills.
Claire Todd-Hunter, 9 News.
Disturbing dreams could be a red flag for dementia, and new research has uncovered who might be at risk. Gabriella Rogers spoke to the study's chief investigator about the findings.
This latest research involving multiple countries gives a clearer picture on this potential warning sign, disturbing dreams and the risk of dementia. More than 10,000 people aged between 60 and 90 were followed up. Researchers analysed the frequency of their bad dreams, including nightmares.
Technically, nightmares are disturbing dreams that wake the sleeper up. But there are also other dreams that have similar emotional intensity, but they don't wake the sleeper up.
24% of people in the study experienced disturbing dreams. People in their 60s reporting these problems were nearly 4 times at risk of developing dementia. The increased risk skewed towards men, especially if they reported having disturbing dreams at least once a week.
I think the reasons for this have to do with the pathology and the type of dementia that's involved. In women generally, there was no indication of any effect, any association between having disturbing dreams and dementia.
It's important to note not everyone will develop the disease. For some, it may be a red flag for underlying changes in the brain.
Some of Australia's Paralympic heroes have landed back home after a successful Games in Italy. 14 athletes touched down at Sydney Airport this morning to a raucous welcome from family, friends and the Governor-General.
Look what you've brought home here.
Oh,
Hey, it's incredible day. I thought I couldn't do it, bring them 2. I was hopeful for 1, but yeah, to bring them 2, it's incredible.
Yeah, welcome back. So proud. 3 service dogs are perhaps the happiest members of the team to be back home out of the cold. Well, Rennie's back with sport after the break. Now, the selection acts, that could be coming at Alberton.
Only 1 round in, Raggy, but it's certainly looking that way, isn't it? And Chad Corns has 1 forward in the gun. We'll have more on that story shortly. There's Bulldogs coach Luke Beveridge. He's quizzed about his relationship with Zach Butters. Toby Murray could be out after just 1 game for the Crows. We'll explain why. And Sam Kerr and the Matildas just 1 win away from securing a first trophy in more than a decade. Hello again. The Crows could be spared a tough selection call for Friday night's battle with the Bulldogs. 9 News understands debutant Toby Murray is dealing with a minor back concern following yesterday's main training session. He was guaranteed to play by coach Matthew Nicks before training, but his injury may force a reshuffle. Superstar Isaac Rankin will make his long-awaited return from suspension. Well, Luke Beveridge and his Western Bulldogs will arrive here tomorrow in preparation for Friday night's blockbuster. But he's ruled out meeting up with power free agent Zach Butters whilst in town. But Beveridge stopped short of admitting he's already met with the free agent in their multi-million-dollar pursuit of the star midfielder.
I think every club who's interested in Zach has either spoken to him and connected with him personally, you know, in the off-season if him and his management have allowed them to. I'm on record as saying I absolutely need to make sure I'm front and square when we get an opportunity, and I have over time. But I can't give you any detail on whether or not I've connected with Zach or not.
Butters' only focus is on helping the Power bounce back from Sunday's 46-point loss to North Melbourne, a performance Jason Horne-Francis says was embarrassing.
I think we just weren't tough enough around the contest. I think especially in that second quarter and the second half, there is that little bit of embarrassment, that sense of embarrassment.
They get the chance to respond against the Bombers here on Sunday. Let's hope they can. And it might only be 1 game in, but Josh Carr is set to swing the axe at selection. And struggling forward, Ollie Lord could be on the chopping block. I called up with Power great Chad Corns at his SEN studio earlier today. Well, Chad, there's a bit to unpack with Port. Let's start with Jace Burgoyne, who had this to say on SEN this morning.
We'd showed him a little bit of respect, but we probably didn't think that they were going to come out and play like how they did. Just paid probably a bit more respect to those teams, you know, that you probably don't think you're likely to lose to.
Now, Chad, he's basically admitting they were complacent. Is that a bit concerning for you?
Interesting. Again, I like the honesty, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think they would have gone in underestimating North, like I know Kari and the coaches wouldn't. So might have been just a bit of a slip of the tongue from Jace. I'll let him off that one.
Like it. Now, they've been spruiking how they do want to be known as tough, hard-nosed and really in and at it, but they weren't that on the weekend.
Yeah, I think there was 2 concerning signs. It was the lack of physical pressure, like a record number of missed tackles, and that's not the way Kari's going to want to play, so they'll go to work on that this week. And just the amount of marks they're giving up.
You know Josh Carr as well as anybody. How will he be handling this week?
He's very measured, Kari. He doesn't often raise his voice or lose his temper, so I think he'll take the learnings out of the game. If it goes the same way on Sunday, he might be a little fiery, but it would be very much just take the learnings from the game and move on, I think.
And you'd expect there might be some changes this week. Is there one that perhaps sticks out for you that should be made?
Yeah, for me, I was Ollie Lord's biggest fan, like still am. I think he'll be a good player, but he just hasn't done enough over these first 2 or 3 games they played this year. Lukosius played well with the Maggies. I'd assume he'll come back in.
In stark contrast, the Crows were super impressive. Great win against Collingwood, who've been a bogey side. Do you give them a chance against a red-hot Bulldogs team?
Yeah, absolutely. A great win for the Crows. Given their draw, the confidence they'll take out of that win, give them every chance on Friday night. It's going to be a great matchup. My first commentating debut, Rennie, so I'm pretty pumped up about that too.
You'll be sensational. Just call it as you see it, like you do here. Yeah. They had their hands full last week with Nick Dacos, who we know the pedigree. It's a similar proposition this week with Marcus Bontempelli. How do they try and curb his influence?
How good's Bont been? Best player in the comp right now. I don't think you can stop him because his ability to play any position on the ground.
Can Dawson match it with him in the air physically?
Yeah, I think Dawson's got everything that Bont has. I love Dawson's output in the air. Again, can play behind the footy, can go forward and kick multiple goals. So I think that'll be a good matchup.
Chad, always great to catch up. Look forward to doing it again next week.
Thanks, great man.
On your Cornsey, well, 36er star DJ Vasiljevic is one step closer to fulfilling his bold promise of delivering a title to Adelaide, leading his side to its first championship series in nearly a decade. Thrust back into the starting lineup for the do-or-die clash with the Phoenix, the outspoken skipper delivered when it mattered most.
Lapping it up in the locker room, these Sixers had plenty to celebrate. A tumultuous and at times turbulent season, suddenly on the verge of history.
You got to be good, and you got to be a little lucky, and you got to be healthy, and right now, all those things we are.
Mike Wells making his own luck though, boldly pulling the lever to thrust DJ Vasiljevic back into the starting lineup.
Landed back from Melbourne, he was like, "You're going to start." I just said about time, honestly, like it's time to rock and roll. This is where the finals are. This is where the fun is.
And he enjoyed every second, exploding for 27 points and repeatedly rising to the occasion in his duel with Nathan Sobey.
Vasiljevic, what a night he's had!
The reason I came to Adelaide was to try to change the culture and try to bring like that championship caliber, experience. Doesn't matter what you do throughout the season, it's how you remember post-season. And yeah, I really want this one really, really bad.
So too does Bryce Cotton, his heart on his sleeve during this tense exchange with the coach before dropping 38 points to ensure the Phoenix wouldn't rise again.
He is remarkable!
That's what greatness is, and he's great.
True greatness, though, is still 3 wins away. Sydney, the final obstacle standing between Adelaide and a title now 24 years in the making.
The job's, not even a quarter of the way done yet, Will. We've got to, finish what we started. Great win last night, but, the championship's always been our objective this year, and that's what we're focused on.
The 5-game series starts in Sydney on Saturday night. Will Crouch, 9 News.
How good? Well, some Sam Kerr magic has propelled the Matildas into the final of the Asian Cup. The Aussies departed Perth today on a high from their win over China last night. Locked at 1-1, the Matildas needed a breakthrough. Enter Sam.
That's why she's a world-class player. You can be quiet for 89 minutes if that's the case, and she has 1 minute and she scores a goal. So, yeah, that's why she's the player she is.
Yeah, done it her whole career, hasn't she? The Matildas will play either South Korea or Japan in Saturday night's final in Sydney. How good is sport right now, Raggy? We've got the Matildas in the final. We've got the Sheffield Shield final starting next week, and the Adelaide 36ers in the grand final series too. It is all happening.
And a hot contest between the Kings and Adelaide. The 36ers, just massive.
It's going to be huge. Kendrick Davis versus Bryce Cotton, the MVP versus the runner-up. It is going to be on like Donkey Kong. I cannot wait.
Yeah, looked magnificent last night.
Good, it was amazing.
Good to catch up again. Thanks, Brenton. See you tomorrow. Well, after a dreary start to the day, skies are clearing for the final days of the Adelaide Fringe. Jessica returns with the forecast next. First, though, here's tomorrow's speed cameras.
Hi, it's Rue Dits and Loz from Triple M Breakfast.
Turn us on tomorrow morning for the latest Adelaide news, traffic and weather.
And don't miss Adelaide's most listened to segment, The Rumour Mill.
On 104.7 Triple M.
Hello again. Well, the skies may still be quite grey overhead around Adelaide this evening, but never mind that. It's feeling very bright and colourful here at the Garden of Unearthly Delights, where, can you believe it, it's coming up to the last weekend of the Adelaide Fringe Festival. Only a few days to go. So if you've got something, a show on your mind that you've been meaning to come in and catch, you better hop to it or you will be missing out. Lots of people here not missing out tonight, and it's actually quite lovely still despite the grey skies and the odd little sprinkle of rain. We had the top in the mid-20s today. Most of the showers were earlier on this morning, only around 0.5 millimetre or so in it, but we are getting just the odd spot through the city at the moment. Around the suburbs, there were some pretty heavy falls through the hills overnight. We had 7 millimetres or so at Birdwood, but throughout today it's more just been a light sprinkle here and there. We had 25 degrees at Mawson Lakes and 24 at Elizabeth and Noarlunga. More bucketing rains in the outback, almost 80 millimetres at Moomba overnight. The rain warning has just been cancelled for that region. It was 28 at both Port Augusta and Port Pirie. On the York Peninsula, Moonta picked up 18 millimetres overnight, and this afternoon Brisbane, Kadina got to 26 and Murray Bridge 22 degrees. On the charts, we've got a high-pressure system arriving right on cue to find things up for the end of the week and the weekend. But while it's easing up here, that's not the case interstate. Sydney tomorrow could see the rain ramping up and storms with the potential to turn severe. Canberra, rainy and stormy with 23, and Brisbane, lighter showers and a top of 28. It is nice to see the rain continuing to ease up through our north after those flooding outback rains. Moomba looking dry tomorrow, Port Augusta too with 27. Whyalla seeing the sun with 26 and Port Lincoln 23. We should get up to 28 degrees at Renmark and the same for Keith, while Narracourt and Murray Bridge are both going for a dry 26. On metro waters, winds variable below 10 knots, becoming south to southwesterly, 10 to 15 knots in the early afternoon. And around Adelaide, it's a pretty straightforward day tomorrow, a mixture of cloud and sun in the high 20s with 27 for Elizabeth and Outer Harbour, and a touch softer at Mount Barker with 24. We've got 27 degrees on the way for you in the city tomorrow, remaining dry and staying that way for Friday and through the weekend. So we go from 26 up to 27 and then up to 29 degrees on Sunday with plenty of sunshine around. So Brenton, no excuses. We've got one more weekend to make the most of our Mad March.
Too right. Really is the best time of the year. Thank you, Jessica. That's 9 News Adelaide for this Wednesday. So glad you could join us. If you missed anything, you can start over on 9 now or stay watching for a current affair. From all the team, we hope you enjoy your evening. Bye for now.